Alright, hello and welcome to another painting tutorial. In this one we'll look at the Guardians, Uthwe Guardians. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that properly, but so these are the guys that are basically black. I'm going to show you step by step and sort of fast forward. So what I'm doing here is I went over using Cantor Blue, lining all of the armor plating there, and started off with a black base coat, spray painted, and then touched up a bit with paint. So just trying to go around, get all of the edges on all the armor plating, some of the raised areas on the under suit, whatever that is. So the blues that I'm using, you can obviously use these same ones, or you could use something like the Fenrisian grays, or you could use the Thunderhawk and Dark Reaper colors. Um, it all depends on what sort of a black color you want. So I'm following the ones that were in the White Dwarf, and that's why I'm using the blues. But it all depends on what kind of black you like. Mornfang Brown, so I'm using this to base coat sort of the bone colors, which is going to be the Shuriken Catapult, as well as a little bit on the face. And I end up doing a little bit on the backpack there just to get a bit more. So very minimal paint scheme on the Guardians, very, very basic sort of look. So these guys will paint up very fast once you get the hang of doing sort of the armor plate lining. Um, yeah, so it's doing your mass troops is all about getting a system that's easy to replicate, fast and efficient. Um, so these ones here, I'm doing a lot of base colors and not doing a lot of shading really. And yeah, it just helps the process go along pretty fast. And you can see there's very little colors other than the base black coat and a couple other flecks of color. And it's really in the larger creatures and vehicles that you will see the variations and the army sort of pop out a bit more. Okay, so I'm using red, Mephiston red to do the gems. Lining everything onto McCraig blue now, and just trying to do a fainter edge on everything there, just so that the blues are kind of gradient towards the edges of all the sharp armor. And I'm not worried about going around getting every single one. I'm mostly focusing on things that you're going to notice, and especially at tabletop level. Okay, using Xandri Dust to paint up the next layer on all of the bone color stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm painting all of the raised areas and just trying to leave sort of a halo around some of the shadows. You can see that there on the clip. I did those little things on his legs as well. And just trying to leave sort of a lining around everything. Now you could have used Xandri Dust and then washed it with something like Agrax Earthshade or even the Sepia wash. It just depends on what sort of a look you want to go with and what process makes the most sense for your troops. Typically for troops, I do them in batches. I find 10 is a nice number. Once you start getting up to 20 or more, each step gets so tedious that it gets pretty bogged down. A little while back, I did 40 high elf spearmen, and I think it nearly killed me. Um, yeah, so you just want to keep the numbers reasonable, but also you want to get enough done at a time that you're actually making progress. Okay, using a Shabti bone to highlight these, just using the edges there, so you can see the edge of the brush kind of going along all the sharp stuff. Not worried about giving every single thing, just trying to get the stuff that you can actually see sort of from a higher angle and maybe from a bit of a distance. So yeah, if you have a squad of 5 guys, it's fine to do that, but I find doing 3 is a bit not quite enough. Unless you're doing characters, I like to do them on their own. Using Screaming Skull now to highlight the edges. Sometimes what I do is I do a squad and a character at the same time. So I do all the base coats on everybody and then spend a bit more time on the character once I'm done the squad. He's kind of my reward at the very end. Okay, using Fendersine Gray for the edge highlights, as I mentioned, this isn't what the White Dwarf suggests, but I thought that this would look better. They actually use the liner paint from Heavy Metal lining ones, that ones you can only get direct order, and I don't have those at the moment, so I'm not using that. So just trying to get some of the little fine edges. That's my 18-0 brush there. That is great for that sort of detail. Okay, Wild Rider Red, I'm highlighting the lower half of the gemstone, and then I'm going to shade it with a bit of wash, or Bad and Black actually. I'm just going to water it right down and shade the top edge of the gemstone, and just trying to get it thin enough that it's gradient. Temple Guard Blue, just touching up the eyes, and now I'm using White Scar to just get a little speck on the top of the gemstones. So here's the finished guy from all the different angles. Not a lot of complicated stuff on him, so it's going to get on the tabletop pretty quick. And obviously you can add more detail to these guys if you wanted, maybe some silver here or there, some blues and yellows. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Check out my other stuff.